Not sure of the best order to put these components on. Some may not matter at all, of course. There's two screws much the same here, and if you get the wrong one in the wrong place, things don't work smoothly from memory. Have a look at these. It looks like the longer of the two. Let's try that. When I say the longer of the two, I mean that the shoulder on the screw appears to be longer. That does not sit neatly in place. Let's try the other one. And that one does. Well, that one will go there. That's mate over here. Let's see if this screw goes in there. It does, and it does work well. That's good. It appears fine. Put a smear of grease around here. That gear goes on there. This daisy wheel arrangement goes on here. And this ring wheel goes on there. In the fullness of time, this is held down with the frame counter dial, which we'll put on now so I can check that it all revolves smoothly. I just gave that a wipe of synthetic grease underneath where it runs on the top of that spring. And the screw down through there, and that should revolve Yeah, the wheels underneath are revolving correctly. This wheel at the top doesn't revolve with that directly, it revolves when it's moved by the frame counter mechanism. So that's good, that's working as it should. Okay. This lever, the levers at the front of the camera that control the film advance. We had a very thin one down there. I've got to get this spring in place, I suppose. Now this arm's going to go in at the bottom. I've got to get that spring swung around in the correct direction, I think. Okay, so that spring really needs to be around the other side. Let's see if I can do that, not with that great big counter in the way. Let's take that off. That's better. That stuff back in a minute. There's a large washer that went through under there. Let me check that. Now that looks good. The other arm, smear of grease through that. Looking at the tip of these, the arms on here, to make sure that they look like they're sharp. Looks like that the ends of them are correctly shaped. This lever went on there. And a screw held that in place. That end of the spring has to hook behind this, the stud on this lever. If I can find the end of the spring. That's better. I'll put the knob back on there. Okay, so that's locked. If we press the lever this way, it should unlock it. Did it? Oh, we haven't got the wheel on there, that's why. Let's get the wheel back on here. That's better. That little daisy, that little spring. That would wind that. If I roll the shaft with my thumb in here, that locked the film advance. If you pressed this back, what have we not got here? Something I'm not doing right. Oh yeah, this all gets held back, doesn't it? Freeze that up. Latches in. Freeze that up, latch it in. What's that lever sticking to? It's catching on something it shouldn't. Let's get the rest of this mechanism together and I'll see what I can do. Are you seeing any of this, or I'll keep moving the camera out of frame? Bring you forward a bit. The spring needs to go under there. and goes through the end of that spring. That's better. I'm just rolling the sprocket wheel with my thumb inside the camera as the film would drag it. That seems quite positive in its action. I was worried that the ends of these two control arms were too damaged and that they may not engage correctly. Now if we swing this lever across, that would allow us to rewind the film. And as soon as we start, no, this doesn't automatically change, you have to manually swing that back to the advanced position. That's all good. I'm happy with the state of that film advance mechanism. That's working very well indeed. I'm just going to tighten these screws up here and here, here. That can stay on, can't it? I was thinking that went on over the top of the camera, but it doesn't. The top of the camera goes on over that. That's good. Put the viewfinder on, and once the viewfinder's on, then I can put the rewind post on. So the viewfinder's base is the next thing to go on here. We have this standoff, which is chrome plated. The viewfinder base is painted black. It's a bit dusty here. I'm just checking that I can get that dust off, hopefully without taking too much of the paint off with it. That looks good. Got two black screws to go through there. And the reason you put the viewfinder back on before we put the rewind back on, the rewind knob back on, is it's much easier to get at the screws that hold the viewfinder if you do it early in the piece, probably even earlier than I've done here. Anyway, that's in place. I need to look at the state of the viewfinder and see what I think about that. It's a bit dirty inside and out. I much prefer not to have to take these apart because they come apart much easier than they go together typically. That's it. Two pieces of glass, yeah, spring arrangement and the casing. So I'll clean the casing first. It's important to sort of clean this, get any grease and rubbish off it, because otherwise you don't want to end up putting greasy marks on the glass while you're trying to slide it back into position after you've cleaned it. The eyepiece on these is exceptionally tiny, of course. It's gets dirty. There's really no easy way to get at it from the outside to clean it well. That's good. I need to clean that glass. That glass is absolutely filthy. For cleaning glass for viewfinders like this, an old cotton handkerchief, one that's been laundered away till there's virtually nothing left of it but a few threads, is just ideal because it's just nice and soft, no danger of scratching anything up. And I'm looking at the glass to see if I've done a good job of it. Often you get sort of crusty bits around the edges. That looks okay. There's a few chips on here. The glass is chipped away at the corner here. That won't cause us any problem. I'd rather not have seen that, but I don't think that's going to cause us a problem. There's a little spot on there. I'm just going to have a go at that. Like something embedded on there. It might be a touch of paint, something like that, but I think it'll go away. Yeah, it does. And the eyepiece glass here, that is virtually flat on one face. It might be very slightly concave. It's virtually flat on one face and convex on the other. The convex side faces to the front of the camera. The virtually flat side faces to the rear of the camera, to the eye. Let's hold that up to the light, see what I've got. It's a bit hard to tell, I think I've picked up some dust there. As long as you get any crusted lumps off it at this stage, you can go back in and poke at it once you've got it in place with cotton buds, but it's very difficult to get it in otherwise. So that lens just drops into the front there. This piece should go in with it. These were probably assembled on some sort of jig. And I've got to slide this glass in at the back and it doesn't want to go, so slide that as far forward as it will go. I'm looking at the two tabs at the back, almost like spring leaves that will hold that lens in place, and they really are quite springy. I need to get that forward so that I can get that glass in behind those two fingers. Okay. Well, I'll fight with this off camera because I can tell I'm going to have to use two pairs of tweezers and you're never going to see anything. So what was the secret of success? The secret of success was to hold the three components together: the front lens, the metal spring holder thing, and the rear glass, and slide them in as a unit. Now, generally I don't have to do that. In this case I did, because that springy component is much more springy than most of the ones I've struck. So I suspect that at some stage in the production they went away from using springy stuff to less springy stuff, allowing you to bend the arms around and get things back in place where you want them. I'm just checking that I haven't added any unwanted fingerprints in the process of fighting with those bits of glass. I think I was doing it pretty well, but you can never quite tell. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, that can go on the camera now. There are two tiny screws that hold that in position. chrome plated, quite small. One of them is pretty much hidden by the top cover, so if one of them is a bit ugly, that's going to be the one you choose to put there. Put the ugly one where it won't be seen, which is here in this case. And this would have been easier if I had put this in place before I'd finished assembling that film advance. But I didn't, so I'll fight with it now. That's the ugly screw. Ooh. Yes, it's going. I thought for a second I was going to have to backtrack. I hate doing that. And this screw can be seen, so we'll use the prettier of the two screws in this position. Get that screw up snug, go back and do this screw up snug. That's our viewfinder in position. On the top plate here, we have this piece, which has been through the cleaner, but it's in pretty good state. We have our rewind bush, which I'm just going to lubricate with a bit of synthetic grease. Just lift that tab up slightly to allow the shaft to pass into it. That's good. It sits on there. Two countersunk head screws. And why can I only see one? Well, there's the other one. Trying to hide. And our accessory sheet. It's held in place with two chrome screws. The rewind knob, which of course hasn't been cleaned yet. Let's have a look at that. These concentric grooves in the top of the knobs collected a lot of filth, finger grease, dust and dirt. And they collect corrosion because it's exceptionally hard to electroplate into hollows. You can electroplate to high spots, not low spots, is pretty much what it amounts to. Well, not efficiently anyway. So inevitably these concentric grooves in here and tend to look pretty. They look bad, they've got dirt, they've got corrosion. That's just life as we know it, unfortunately. That's it. Let's get that in place. Screw that down. Put something through the fork of the rewind. Stop it turning. Turn that up. And it does. It lifts, drops back down, rotates smoothly. Excellent. The advance knob can come off. That wasn't tight at all. That was just sitting there. Now, the top cover needs a bit of a clean. And I can see it's got the owner's note on there to tell him what film he had in it. That can stay. Just clean this inside and out. It sits straight on there and is held in place with a chrome raised head screw. And the advance knob. See if I can get that a bit cleaner. I've already cleaned this once, but see if we can do a better job on the top of it. Same deal, the concentric rings get scarred up and look ugly. The chrome started to go on this knob. Put the spanner on the inside, engage the flats on the top of the shaft. Do that knob up tight, it only needs to be finger tight. There's the body done. That's good. If you're doing that, if you're rolling that film sprocket but with your thumb, be aware that if you're moving that quite quickly, you will actually cause the arm to skip and not lock the film advance as would normally happen with the film, because basically you're moving too quick and the actions aren't synchronized. But with a film, that's automatically synchronized. That's good. I'm happy with the state of that body. Now I need to do something with the shutter and lens. Fun and games.